Who better than me?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. Please like and subscribe. Click the notifications button so that you get the updates on all the new videos coming out. Share with a friend, share with an enemy, and share with someone you probably think won't care anyway. Helps me out. I appreciate it. But yeah, let's get into it. It's been quite an eventful week of boxing with news topics. So where do I want to start off? I guess the first place I'll probably start is the numbers for the Evander Holyfield versus Vita Belfort pay-per-view that was done on Triller last weekend. It's saying that they did about 150k pay-per-view wise, which is very dire, to be totally honest. Someone of Evander Holyfield's class, legend, and legacy definitely deserves a lot better. I gave my thoughts on the fight and how it played out last week, so I won't really go into that again. But hopefully, this will now spur on the other legends to realize that maybe this isn't the way to go. I know that Riddick Bowe's got the fight with Lamar Odom in, what is it, like 2-3 weeks time, or October the 2nd. Yeah, I mean, Riddick's health is probably in worse decline than Evander and James Toney put together, and they was all boxing like well beyond their years. So the only saving grace is that the one person he can fight probably in just as bad, if not worse condition than him is Lamar Odom. He come off several heart attacks. I'm sure he had a stroke scare at one point as well. You know, former substance abuser, former member of the Kardashian clan, so you never come out of that the right way. I don't really know what else to say about that. I hope Riddick gets the money he needs, gets the help he needs afterwards, and he can just stay away, basically, because we don't need to see that ever again. I also hope Evander, I heard he got 6 million for the event. Great on you, because like I said, the thing didn't sell. Like, he took the beating. It wasn't really a beating that I would say was that bad, to be fair. Like, it not really much landed. But again, as everyone says, shouldn't have been in there in the first place, shouldn't have had to have been in there in the first place. So let's just hope that whatever you able now to do with that money can reinvest it, maybe put it down to the grandkids, put it down to the kids. Someone can form some kind of plan to make sure that you don't have to follow in one of these exhibitions again. On a slight side topic, I saw the David Hay comments regarding Vita Belfort when he said that, oh, we had a conversation and, you know, it's a legend, it's going to do the move around, it's an exhibition, it's not a proper fight, so, like, be easy and take care, like, you know, the guy's 58. And Hay was like, well, you beat up a 58, 59-year-old, like, what credit do you think you're going to get from that? So, since he's been calling out Tyson Fury, I don't know if the Fury fight will happen, if I'm honest. There's a very good chance it could, because that will still be a big fight. It would be relatively low risk for Fury in the current spectrum. He could drop his WBC belt and just parade his quote-unquote lineal around and build it off of that. But if we're going to carry on with the whole Triller dynamic, I'd actually like to see David Hay fight Vita Belfort. If you were that disgusted and upset by what he did to Evander, it's an easy payday, right? I mean, he's 44, you're 40, claim the injuries and everything is all healed up. You know, did a pretty good job just with one hand last week. Popping the jab. Maybe that's what you do moving forward. maybe you be that boxer that fights the celebrity guys or the former mixed martial arts guys. I don't know. I think it might be worth it. I definitely watched that one, and there's the built-in narrative. Oh, he beat up one of my legends. It was supposed to be just a normal exhibition, fun little move around. He took it too fast, and now I gotta go get revenge. Narrative writes itself. Definitely get a nice little payday out of that. So yeah, I think that's a little decent one. Right. So what else have we had? So I guess the next thing we'll talk about is maybe the Matchroom cards that have been announced for the full months. They're actually pretty decent. I, like a lot of other people, was upset with the way how the zone did their price increase rollout. I knew the price was increasing. As I said in the previous video, I didn't mind the fact it was increasing. I don't even mind the price they put it at. But I just didn't like the fact it was done with no knowledge of what we were supposed to be getting for the rest of the year. Um, but they've announced 3 cards now moving forward. The first one being on Saturday, the 16th of October, which was Mikey Garcia versus Sandor Martin. Now, that's actually not a bad fight. Sandor Martin's like upper European level. He's pretty good. He's sort of on the cusp of like that world scene. Whether or not he would be able to win a world title, I'm not sure. But I guess once Josh Taylor clears out from the division and they become fragmented, he possibly could. Um, I mean, he's only lost 2 fights. One was to Alex Lepperly, which was on points back in, I think it was 2014, between 2014 2015, sort of that era. Um, the only other fight he lost was against Anthony Yigit, who was undefeated at the time, who recently lost to, well, his last loss was actually just to Rolly Romero. I don't know if that's necessarily a great plug for him, but that being said, Yigit was like a smaller guy sort of coming up. Didn't really have the punch power to keep Romero off of him, even though he was pretty much outboxing and dominating that fight, for the most part, but then just sort of got taken out by the power. He also lost to Ivan Baranchek. So, of all the opponents to face, those aren't necessarily the worst 2 losses to have, especially sort of at the level he was boxing and the prospect level he was at. So I feel like now maybe if he gets himself sort of, in tune, he should be alright. But back to the other fight. So Sandor Martin, the last time he fought was back in, I think it was April. And if I remember correctly, he fought K Prosper on one of the Matchroom cards, the one of the ones that they have in Spain. And I remember that because Prosper's from Luton, and it was supposed to be like, oh, his last chance. It was like he's perfectly primed to pull this off, and like pretty much just got battered the whole fight by Martin. Just properly showed like what level Martin was at and what level he was at. So it's a credible fight. I don't know if it's a main event quality fight at this stage. I mean, to me, it would have been like a chief support or co-main maybe, or even maybe like a third from last type fight. I can't imagine that the American subscriber base of the zone are going to be too happy recently. Since Canelo fought back in May, it got Virgil Ortiz in August, and I think Zerdo Romero came out and had his fight. It was either the end of June or the middle of July, against Sullivan Barrera. So they ain't necessarily had like the greatest of offerings on their side. I don't know if this is going to be enough to quell them, especially as their price point is higher than ours at the minute. But that's for them to talk about. That's their business. End of the day, that's a 2-3 a.m. in the morning fight for me. Do I want to stay up? I'm not sure. At least when it's our fights, they get to watch it in the afternoon if you're not doing anything. Don't have to lose no sleep over it. So it is what it is. Second one is on the 30th of October. It's finally been announced who Dillian White's going to be fighting. So he's going to be fighting Otto Wallin. Now this one is actually a very good fight. And I remember obviously when a lot of people were sort of lambasting and criticizing Otto Wallin. Oh, who's this guy that Tyson Fury is fighting? Now, I admit that the Tom Schwartz fight was a joke and, was garbage. But I knew about Otto Wallin about 6 or 7 months, maybe 8 months before that fight was due to take place. I went back and watched a couple of his old fights, just sort of because he popped up on my radar when he got, I think it was a WBO ranking. I think he got like a number 9 or a number 10 ranking at the time. So I went back and sort of checked, looked at the style, looked at the movement, and I said, okay, this is a boxer with some nice pressure. I liked the fact that even though he was sort of fleet of foot, he wasn't just a hit and move type guy. He would sort of stick around and sit down on punches and be a bit spiteful, have a little roughhouse tactics against the level of opponent he was fighting. He very much is a person that will handle his fights according to the level, like correctly. Most people say, well, if you're in there with someone that's below your level, you're supposed to treat them like they're below your level and just get rid of them or make it a very painful night. And in a lot of his previous fights, that's the kind of thing he was doing. So I knew about him. So obviously everyone then saw the Fury fight and then saw the quality he had, saw the fact that he was, he was also a little nasty, putting the thumb in the eye, trying to open up the cut, trying to get it stopped, little things like that. The fact he had Fury wobbled to the body late on, had him out on his feet in the 12th round. So he's a definitely sort of a good pressure guy when he needs to be. He's the kind of guy that will make you have to work, because if you don't work, he'll get off his work, and he's not feather fisted. He's got enough to keep you honest. So maybe that drains the gas tank. I do believe that his style won't be the easiest for Dillian, particularly because Dillian is good with people that will either try and sit down on their punches in front of him so that he can parry and counter, or he's good at people that will sort of either stand in front or maybe they back off and they back to the corners. Now, I think the worst enemy for Otto Wallin in a fight with Dillian Whyte is not actually Dillian Whyte. I think it's the ropes. If he ends up on those ropes the same way that he ended up on the ropes against Tyson Fury, it will be a very painful and a very bad night for him. He will take body blows that will drain the life and soul out of him. He will take headshots, whether they land flush or not. They will definitely not be Mr. Feather Fist Fury's level of punch. They will hurt, and they will be accumulative, and it will be a very bad night. His best bet to win that fight is to keep active in the center of the ring, readjusting just to make sure that Dillian can't land any looping left hooks. So you're going to have to watch for the left hook and watch for that straight left jab. Dillian's quite good at jabbing up, and I think he's got a longer reach than Wallin, even though Wallin is a taller guy. So he'd have to watch out for that. But Dillian's straight right isn't that great. He tends to bend into a straight right. It's never snappy and straight. It's always sort of more crooked and yep. So I feel he'd be able to keep away from the right hand quite a bit. So Dillian, if he's smart, might have to lead with the right to make Wallin move over to the left and then start using the left as almost his power hand instead of the right. He might have to do it in reverse. Whether or not that is a way to get the desired effects, I'm not sure. Because obviously if you're leading with that, then that means that you're then still open for that left hook from the southpaw stance, or even the right hook, because now you're overextended. This arm's always got to stay. It's got to stay glued to the head for that right that's coming over. But Who knows? I think it will be it will be interesting. Like his movement, he's got good movement, and I definitely think that will be something that Dillian's gonna have to find a way to sort of break down. So if he can actually cut off the ring effectively and not get caught by silly shots, it should be a good victory for him at the end of the night. But this is definitely a much harder fight than the others that were being touted. He would have dismantled Jermaine Franklin. I reckon Ariola would have been tough for maybe 2 or 3 rounds, and then he would have got to him. Probably been the first person to actually drop him and knock him out that way, as opposed to just stopping him on his feet or getting stopped on cuts or getting pulled out in the corner. Um, who else was touted for that fight? I think it was just those two realistically, because Charles Martin, Charles Martin, I think will likely be the next fight if he doesn't get a world title fight. I think that will be the next one just because of all the talk and the back and forth. I can't see any other fight getting done instead of that. And realistically, Martin ain't been in the ring now for well over a year, so it should be a very easy fight to then pick up. No, you don't have to. There's no ring rust for you, but there's probably a ton of ring rust for him. We see it takes him 3 or 4 rounds to proper get into something when he ain't been in a fight for that long. We could tell by the what fight was that? The Adam Kovnatsky fight. So we'll see what happens there. And then the last one is on the 18th of December. It's the rematch that no one really asked for. Joseph Parker versus Derek Chisora 2. Now, a lot of people say that Derek Chisora won the original match. I won't argue with them, but I did actually have Parker just nicking it, primarily because even though Derek was investing a lot of good work to the body, a lot of his head shots and the hooks were either being smothered or being blocked. Um, and when you was looking at the work Parker was doing, while it was little and far between, and Derek was probably being more of the physical bully, the effective punches were coming from Parker, sort of after round 3. So I think I remember scoring it 114, 113. So I gave Parker 7 rounds. I gave Derek 5, but obviously with the knockdown took that point off. That's what I remember. Haven't watched it back in quite a while, so I may have to go back and rewatch it. It wasn't a terrible fight, but it definitely wasn't a fight I needed to see a rematch of. But we're gonna get the rematch. Joseph Parker's one of those guys where I used to really like Parker. Before the AJ fight, I was really invested in him. Even the Dillian fight, that was a hard fight for me to watch personally because, as most people will know, Dillian White's like my favorite heavyweight to watch, regardless of his flaws or whatever. Like I just like watching Dillian White fights. I just like his character. I like his energy, you know, personally. So I resonate with him. But I also was very much a fan of Joseph Parker, his style of fight, plus obviously his background, the heritage. I like sort of those people that come from those warrior tribes. But it's almost like he's like diet warrior at this point because he never seems to want to be in a real fight. He talks about I might have to just release the dog. That dog's been leashed up since you were fighting Journeyman in New Zealand. The last time I even saw you potentially want to get out with someone credible was in the Huey Fury fight. And yeah, okay, he ran a lot, made it boring, but outside of that, everything's been safety first. The Dillian White fight, I give him a blah because we saw the nasty headbutt in the second round, which knocked him down. He says that he was concussed through the majority of the next rounds. Probably was, to be fair. Where the headbutt caught him, it did look a bit damaging. He got back into the fight. He started to show some heart rounds sort of 9, 10, 11, and 12. But other than that, he was just sort of letting himself get bullied, get pushed around, having his corner complain to the referee. it wasn't a good look. It was like, I think it was Tony Bellew on commentary was saying, look, if he's roughhousing you, roughhouse him back. Don't complain to the referee. Get nasty yourself. Hit him with a low blow if you got to. Just like let him know, no, you're not gonna do that to me and just think you're gonna get away with it, because then they're just gonna do more, and it's gonna take you out of your comfort zone, and you're just gonna end up, you know, not in a great position afterwards. Probably taking more punishment than you need to, because this guy is just taking liberties that you shouldn't be letting him take. Derek now. I guess I can mold this into the same story. I've just signed in with 258 Management with Anthony Joshua. That's actually a very left field signing. I like it though. I like the, obviously it's Joshua essentially looking out for the people that he's grown up with, he's been inspired with. I think that's a good look. But it's just weird that Derek, at the age of 37, how much longer does he really want to be going on? Like, is it literally just a couple big paydays he's looking for now, or is he looking just to sort of stay around and just fight because he's got nothing better to do? I'm not sure. Like, the appointment is weird because I don't know what his lifespan is. Like, when he went with David Hay, okay, that made sense because at that point he was what, 34, 35. You could say he's still got a good 2-3 years left. At the age of 37, coming off of back-to-back losses, how does this one play out? I'm not sure. Now, usually, I wouldn't give predictions on a roundup video, but I am going to give a prediction for that fight. Against public opinion and popular opinion, I see Derek Jezora getting knocked out by Joseph Parker. Now, if you want to know why, I might address that in a later video down the line. But mark my words, Joseph Parker KOs Derek Chisora in the rematch. And there's a good reason why I come to that conclusion. But okay, that's the end of the Matchroom slate. So overall, I say it's alright. I'm happy with it in terms of myself for my subscription. I haven't got any issues with it. Like I said, I don't know how the Americans feel, but sorry, that's you guys' business, isn't it? I think the last thing I'll talk about for this week, because look, there was many other little topics, but I don't really care about a lot of them, to be fair. And probably if I don't, the other casuals probably won't either. But we finally got Terence Crawford versus Sean Porter. So someone from PBC Island is finally going to cross the street, or I guess cross that river, as it must be if you're on an island, isolated from everyone else. Now, the one thing I will say is Sean Porter is one of the few welterweights that I will never disrespect, in the sense of questioning, do they really want these fights? Do they really believe that they can win? Are they really up for a scrap? Like, as inactive as he can be sometimes, I don't actually believe that's because of him. I just believe that's because PBC don't have the dates, or sometimes even the money to put certain fights on, because if they're not getting certain backing, but that's another story for another time. But he's definitely one of those guys where you could say, have gloves, have gum shield, will travel. And I believe that's now the case. So win, lose or draw in any fight, he's one of the few that I think deserves to be in that Hall of Fame category, because he is literally the most throwback fighter within that division currently. Like, he will fight anybody, and he's proving it now. In terms of how I see that fight going out, I think I'll wait for a prediction video to actually closer to the fight, but I don't see it going the distance. That's all I'm gonna say. Might give some breakdowns on that later, but I'm happy that it's been taken care of Crawford finally got a chance to show what he can do against one of the quote unquote best in the world in terms of the PBC roster. Porter's definitely top 5, could be higher. He might be top 4, could possibly even scrape into top 3 if you look at resumes and performances. I'm not sure, but you know, you never know how everyone else sees it. But he's definitely a consensus top 5 welterweight. So no one can now say that Crawford wouldn't have stepped in there with a credible opponent since moving up to welterweight. I never subscribed to that anyway, because there's numerous of his opponents. Like, if you do enough research on them, you realize, no, these guys were legit. It's just because they weren't fighting your guys is why you're downplaying them. But yeah, here's what it is. 10 million was the 10 million was the fee for the purse bid. So Crawford gets 6 and Porter gets 4. Be a good night's work. Definitely be on it will be on ESPN pay-per-view in America. I'm not sure. I think we actually should be getting it as a part of the Sky Sports deal that we've got. So that's actually a nice touch. Get to see that. Well, that'd be probably 3-4 in the morning, but it should be free for us. So hey, happy days. So overall, I'm happy. There's been a lot of good stuff that's happened during this week, and I just hope that it continues. And next week we've got even more stuff to talk about. I may actually do a couple additional videos this week coming up. I'm definitely going to be dropping my analysis and prediction video for AJ versus Usyk happening on Saturday. I'm probably going to have some controversial takes that no one else is either going to agree with or like, but I'm not here to be the same as everyone else. I'm here to be objective. I'm here to be independent, and yeah, look out for that. There might be another little one as well, and possibly a week in review at the end of next week. So we'll see how it goes. But again, as I said at the beginning, if you could please like and subscribe and click that notification button, help me out. I'd appreciate it. I want the channel to grow. I want certain things to get better. If I got a bigger subscriber base, you know, I'll be more tempted to make certain other alterations to presentation and styling, and yeah, we'll see where we go to. But for now, that's the end of this one. Hope you enjoyed my analysis. Apologies if I waffled on anything, or if you didn't agree, put in the comments, tell me what you didn't agree about, tell me why you didn't agree. I'll respond back. If it's nonsense, I might just read it and acknowledge that I've read it, you know, but I'll definitely, yeah, I'm definitely active in the comment section. Just check any other video. Ring IQ, Boxing Beats and Rhymes, Undefeated Podcast, Adiola Depot, Boxing Squared, Sporting Icons. Occasionally these days, the Boxing Voice, they come on at weird times for me just because I'd normally be at work when those videos are on, can't really interact as much. Ringside Stories, another great channel I subscribe to. So yeah, for now, I'd just like to say, hardcore casual,